Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm Susan Lindner, your host of the Innovation Storyteller Show, where we dive deep into really cool innovations and breakthrough technologies to dig up the stories that were so instrumental in getting these big ideas to their finish line. And that's why I'm really excited today to have with me as my guest, straight out of Israel. Dr. Moshiel Biton is the CEO and co-founder of Addionics, a pioneering company that specializes in 3D current collector technology. And don't worry, you don't need to know what that is just yet, but you will know by the end of this podcast. He is an innovative entrepreneur and a materials scientist. His extensive background includes research in the semiconductor field and efforts to enhance both conventional and novel battery cells. So anyone with an EV is going to be thrilled to learn more about what we're talking about today. And also contributions to fascinating image structures that are tailored specifically to battery materials. After completing his PhD and postdoc at Imperial College in London, he established Addionics, which has raised over $75 million and is partnering with world-leading companies in the EV and battery industry today. So we couldn't have an EV without a battery, right? This is what it all comes down to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Super happy to be here. And yeah, thanks for this. Definitely, I think batteries are the key component in the EV. EVs without batteries won't be available. That's the key component. And I think this is what the OEM, the automotive OEM, realized that they want to be in the driver seat. And if they want to control the performance and also the cost of the vehicle, they need to understand and to even to manufacture or to be a smart buyer of battery.
So tell us a little bit how you got here, Moshiel, because not many people are actively working in the EV battery industry at the moment. So how did you get to this place? What made you decide to go into this field of work?
It was actually by chance. I'm material scientist by art and by practice, but I decided to move to London to complete a PhD and did a postdoc in the battery space. It was an opportunity, and I wanted to live in London and to enjoy life, so I did it. I remember back then, all the EV dream wasn't as heavy today, like Tesla. It wasn't popular. It was before the days of everyone know who is Elon Musk and Tesla. In Israel was the days of Better Place, that the collapse of Better Place. I remember my mom asking me, "What you're going to do with batteries? Batteries are for remote controls." So everything is changed, and thanks to Tesla, I think we see all this today. It's super sexy and trendy area to be at. So I went to the battery space, as I mentioned. It wasn't my dream to study battery, but I went to Imperial. They looked for someone with my skills that was transferable skills in material characterization, and I ended up doing that into batteries. For me, as I mentioned, it was to be in London to enjoy life, and I did so many things that not related to batteries and not related to academia while doing a PhD, and this is I think open the door for me for innovation, for entrepreneurship. I run a few conferences like dealing with entrepreneurship, and I realized that I want to combine my academic or years of studies in university with my passion, entrepreneurship and innovation combined together and start a company.
So what was the spark? What was that,
The moment.
yeah, what was the idea that you had that you thought, wow, this could actually be a company, not just a concept, right? Or not even just a product, but there's actually a company here.
Yeah, so it wasn't like one moment. Of course, there are like several occasions that led into establishing a company, but I always, had ideas all the time, and I spoke loudly on the ideas. And most of the time, those ideas got killed either in my brain or by comments by others. It's not going to work. It's not novel. It's not economically viable. It's against like physics, thermodynamics all the time. The ideas got killed. And the first time that I got uh, even semi, I would say, approval for an idea, I realized, okay, this is an idea that will turn into a company. But I must say that, the idea is in my opinion, is not the important part. At
Mm,
the end, it's the execution to be able to turn this idea into reality. And believe it or not, the idea is changing all the time. You're starting with one idea and ended up with a different idea, even if it is the same concept in the same industry or the same area. You have lots of, uh, 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 I would say, changes or adding layers on top of the initial idea.
mm,
And I would say the moment after 4 years of research in the battery space, I realized that most of the focus in the space is on the battery chemistry. And the most exciting components in the batteries are the inactive component. You have in the battery, you have two electrodes, separator and electrolyte, anode and cathode. As I mentioned, most of the focus is on the chemistry and the anode and cathode, and the other component, the separator, the binder, the electrolyte, the current collector, are less popular. There are less studies or innovation in those components. And because of that, I saw that as the most exciting parts because with chemistries, everyone already squeezed everything from chemistry. I went to big battery conferences, and that was kind of, you asked about the moment, to go to the same conference like a year after year, and the agenda is the
uh,
same agenda. Nothing actually is changing. The same promises that was 10 years ago, you go today and you'll see the same agenda of the conference with the same topics. And I said, okay, there is a room for different like topics. There is a room for innovation, and the most overlooked component was the current collector. Even if you search like number of papers of patents, even in academia, is not well studied. And this is what we found the most exciting component because the potential is the biggest because of the fact that is unpopular, like the unpopular kid in the class that no one wants to play with, and now
mm.
that's the revenge. Now it's the most popular kid, and exactly like that. And the biggest compliment that we ever got as a company, 2 months ago, we saw an article. It was not an article; it was actually an announcement by a Japanese company, Murata. Murata, it's a big conglomerate. They acquired the battery division of Sony. So Murata battery engineers are the engineers that originally invented the lithium-ion batteries. The first, for the first time in their history, they commercialized the lithium-ion batteries. That's the scientists, the engineers, the investors. They announced that they are developing a similar product to Addionics. And that was the biggest recognition of all our efforts. After years of efforts, we see a competition, which we are happy of this competition because we understand that we managed to build a big need for the product, to educate the market. And also, it's good because we have a benchmark. Now we can compare and see why our material is much better than their material.
Mm.
And I'm saying that publicly because I know that we have like a better product.
So let's talk about this a little bit. For those of us who don't work in material science, who don't work in batteries and still drive combustion engine cars, right? Let's just take a step back for a moment about what does old battery science look like? You talked about being in these, and being in these conferences and everything looks the same every year. Give us the before and after, the makeover picture of what old batteries look like versus what you're doing in the moment.
Sure, sure. So that's true. Like when I started and went to all these battery conferences, I felt very bored and
Mhm.
I saw like only old people. And as you mentioned, I came from like the semiconductor area, and like, very vibrant young people. There is like a valley, Silicon Valley, that named after this industry. And in the battery space, which is very old industry,
Mhm.
no any, I would say, attractive or no talents or young people back then. Today it's changed, and the battery hasn't changed. Like even the lithium-ion battery that you're using today, it's the same structure that been invented or commercialized by Sony in the 90s. So more than 35 years of, I would say, stagnation. There is innovation, but incremental innovation. There is not a step change. The same architecture of the battery remain the same. It's good enough. It's working well. That's the
Mhm.
reason that we don't see any, I would say, replacement yet. And what we are doing is not, we are not talking about completely changing all the concept of battery. We're still, we have two electrodes separate an electrolyte like conventional battery. But in
Okay.
our case, the electrode, instead of having the active material on top of metal foil, that's an electrode. Think about slice of bread, and you spread cream on top of the bread. That's the electrode. In our
We say,
case,
we say peanut butter in America, but yes.
peanut butter and jam, yeah,
Yeah,
peanut
sure.
butter. Yeah, for sure. So in our case, instead of having like a very dense, which is the metal foil, it's a 2D dense material. In our case, it's porous and 3D. So our bread is very fluffy, like English muffin. And
Mm.
then when we spread the peanut butter on top of the bread, it's not only on top of the bread, but it's also inside. So we have created in our bread more real estate to load more peanut butter. So in that way, we have more space to peanut butter because peanut butter is the energy. And the bread is the carb that we don't want, are not providing us energy. The peanut butter is the energy that provide us like the ability to run and to swim and to run the EV. Especially the same analog is with the active material in the chemistry, where adding more active material, so we have more energy, increasing the energy density. Even by one layer in a battery, we have many layers. In one layer of a battery, we are increasing the energy density by 3% per layer, just by creating new real estate.
Mm.
And this is going to lead to improve performance of the battery, overall performance like power and lifetime. We've managed even to double the lifetime by changing this architecture, novel architecture, to make this hybrid electrode, the bread and the peanut butter together. And in that way, we've managed to extend the lifetime, to reduce the internal resistance, but also to reduce the cost. Today, the cost is the most critical element that battery manufacturers, automotive OEM, looking to reduce. Because at the end of the day, batteries are commodity. We own batteries everywhere, in every car, in every pocket, and we want to make them reliable, safe, high performance, and cheap. That's the
Mm.
holy grail.
So, how did you get investors on board with this new way of looking at batteries? Were they hungry to invest in material science, number one, and in number two, in these new batteries? Or were they skeptical about whether or not this process could work? Because you're really in this whole green field, right? We're in this space where batteries haven't really been before.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we gave the analog of peanut butter, they had more appetite. But
Literally.
yeah, but no, it's difficult. It's hardware. We are manufacturing, we're designing, integration. We need to build like new components, facilities, capex. It's very difficult to venture capital to invest because they can invest in someone with laptop and create like a SaaS cloud cyber company. So why for them to invest in heavily capital venture? And I think the fact that we have a platform, the fact that with chemistry agnostic solution, especially in a time there is a lots of competition. When we started the company, lots of hype on batteries, like battery companies, especially in the chemistry that I mentioned, were popping like mushrooms.
Mm.
And no one, like investors, they want to invest and to be part of the battery revolution, part of this, I would say, era of electrification. But there is a jungle of like companies, the technologies, and no one has a crystal ball to understand which technology is going to win. And we provided, like even for investor, a glimpse about this industry. Kind of we are the crystal ball because we can work with everyone, with
Mhm.
any chemistry, with any platform, with any format of battery. That's a platform. And we have a drop-in solution, so we don't need to change the existing production line. So what investors are afraid of, that, okay, you have a new technology, but all the industry build for specific technologies. If you have new technology and you need to actually build new capex or new facilities, all the billions of dollars that they've been poured for the infrastructures will be
Yeah,
gone.
right.
And we can utilize the existing manufacturing. So this is advantage. We are not building our technology from scratch. And I will explain what does it mean. And third, there is papers and justification and endorsement of the product itself. So the product is well known that it's better than the 2D, but everyone in the market or in the industry is used commercial available off-the-shelf alternative. But the alternatives were good for performance improvement, but not from cost perspective or not from being a platform. And they had like those issues that uh, prevent commercialization of the off-shelf alternative. And we from day one, we said the alternatives are not good enough. We need to design from day one for
Mhm.
manufacturing, for the lithium-ion batteries, for gigafactories, a product that will be able to integrate, will be scalable, cost-effective, and will boost performance. So to have the three aspects, and we designed it from day one, and I think the pivotal moment that happened for the company and why we were managed to be successful with investors, that we had a very clear and solid roadmap and milestones. And the way that we build those, like those milestones, the roadmap, I spent 3 months in the Bay Area. I took like a flight, a plane. I remember that I was no money. I was staying at a friend's place, and he did like a favor, and we stayed together. And I went to meet with a like leading company in the battery space.
Mm.
And this is before we got funding and before we had a big team, etc. And I asked them their feedback on the product, on the technology, on the innovation. And they told me it's going to be difficult, it's going to be challenging, better for you not to do it. And I asked why? Why? And they didn't want to share too much. They said, you look very energetic and motivated person. If you want, apply and work for us. But we recommending you not to seek for this. And I was like a very like a kid that is not getting no for an answer, and is searching and asking, a very curious kid that asks his parents all the time, why? But why? Please, please, I want to understand, I want to learn. And I put myself as this kid that want to learn. And when I ask for this help, they try to help me to really to educate me, to explain me why it's going to be difficult. What are the commercial challenges? What are the technical challenges? And I wrote down all those like industry challenges, the commercial challenges, and I turned those challenges into our roadmap. And I told the investor, the team, if we are going to meet and to overcome those milestones, to make sure that we're going to, solve the industry challenge that the industry told me about them, they will work with us. And when we actually build that roadmap and we present that roadmap to investors and we gave them the feedback from the big company that said, yes, this is a challenge for us. And we did 1+1 also with the investors. If we're going to solve this challenge, they will be excited and motivated to work with us. And that was I would say, the pivotal moment that led us to get the interest and at the end, the money from the first investors. I think today it's different because the product speaks by itself, and we have lots of strategic investors that tested the product over a few years and realized the potential and realized the advantage of the product.
So what is the reception that you're getting from EV manufacturers? What are the folks saying about the battery? Is it to their liking?
So I think that's there is no question that everyone is excited about the product. Some of the clients wants to already integrate that. Some of them want to test it, different stages. I think right now the bottleneck is to scale it up. And that's the reason that we are now opening our 0.5 gigawatt-hour capacity to produce the component. That's the first production and scale of like porous 3D component in the current collector. And I mentioned before that we are not building that from scratch because we can take existing equipment and retrofit the existing equipment. So it's very low cost CapEx, which produce today commodity. We can take this low cost CapEx and turn it into production of high value product. So that's another reason that is attractive.
Got it. Yeah. Well, this has been fascinating. I mean, I don't have a regular opportunity to talk about battery science and what's really the secret hero behind the EV revolution, right? Because I went and bought a new car on Saturday, and I was looking at EVs, and on some of the higher end models, you get 30 to 50 miles with your EV, right? As a hybrid model. And you're like, well, that just gets me to the next gas station so I can fill up my car when I run out of gas, right? It becomes even a question of, how does this work? But we're in a new era where performance is everything, right? And so it sounds like you're creating this next generation of batteries that is really going to change the way that we interact, not just with vehicles, but certainly with so many other things that will require the kind of battery science that you're talking about. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right. So
Thank you.
Every person who comes on the show has to answer my 3 hot seat questions. So number 1, Dr. Biton, what is the greatest innovation of all time?
I believe electricity is related also to batteries, but batteries are storing electricity, but thanks to electricity, we can run the world as we are running it today.
Yeah. And if you had the chance to join any innovation team in human history, what innovation team would you have joined?
I believe the first innovators that created the space mission, I would say all this to bring people into the space. That's, I think, the first mission for that. That's super exciting, I would say, journey.
Yeah, so NASA in the 60s, or are you going to the Soviet Union for their approach? Or be here in NASA?
No, 60s, yes. The early days, before everyone understand that it's actually possible.
Right.
Like to make things that are not reality yet. When it's reality, to duplicate that, it's easier, but still difficult, but easier.
Yeah. Because you have a roadmap at least, right? At a minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, and my last question is, what's something that really irritates you or something that you wish just existed for the good of humanity that you would invent if you could? What's something that humanity needs that we don't have now? Something that really pisses you off or something that would bring you so much joy?
Yeah, I think to have peace in the world, so everyone understand that there is no reason to fight. So if it was like a peace generator, that everyone will feel and understand that there is no reason to fight and to do and to have any wars. I think that was the biggest innovation in the history, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to live and to have like a good life and to make this world a better place. And I think that's will make a better place. But if we'll focus on that, on bring positive aspects and not fights and wars, let's say, end up all this stupid in my mind. There is no reason to fight.
Yes. And what a lovely thought. This is our last recording of our podcast for this year of 2024. So thank you for sharing a message of peace at the end of this year. That's fantastic, Dr. Biton. Thank you so much for joining me. So if people want to get in touch with you, where should they find you?
LinkedIn, email, WhatsApp. I'm available like all media, and
Yeah.
we'd love to reach out.
Okay. So, or maybe LinkedIn or the
Yeah,
Addionics website too. You could take a look there. Fantastic.
indeed.
Thank you so much for joining
Okay.
today.
Okay. Happy New Year.
Happy
Thank
New
you.
Year.
Bye bye.